Ruthann, today's Talk CDL episode is brought to you by DriveWyze. That's driveWyze.com. The DriveWyze app enables you to bypass the scales. Unlike their competitors, that you have to order a box and put it in your truck for it to work, DriveWyze, you can either use it on your app, you can download it and start bypassing the scales, or if you have an ELD, DriveWyze works with that. It's a great tool to have if you're a small company, if you're an owner-operator. Either way, when you're lease purchasing or if you're going to be an owner-operator the rest of your life, you're going to need to be able to bypass the scales. So why wait to go there to some new trucking company and have to keep getting it over and over and over? You're paying for it either way, and it's very inexpensive. So check them out today, driveWyze.com, and start bypassing the scales today.
Troy, Talk CDL is also brought to you by Camion and LoadSmart. Camion's break-even calculator helps you watch how much you're spending on fuel so that you can make sure that you're not overspending on places that you don't need to and that you can get more profit in your pocket. They are also having a webinar that's free to everyone that wants to join on April 27th. It's for FMCSA compliance intervention. They have a lot of information that they want to give drivers on how they can benefit and how they can watch what the FMCSA is doing to make sure that you are in compliance. Go to Camion's website and click to join the webinar and then go and see it.
Awesome. I'm going to check that webinar out myself. Hey, Ruthann, so today on Talk CDL, we are going to discuss a couple things. Number one, I want to tell you a story about a driver that recently kind of held a truck hostage for about a week. And then I also want to talk to you about inspecting your trailer and your tractor. And I don't mean your pre-trip. I mean inspecting your tractor and your trailer so that you don't get fired from somebody else's damage.
It's extremely well. That's. I mean, I sound stupid there with well.
Right. Anyways, moving on. We're also going to have the word of the day, the joke of the day, and here we go. So, check this story out. I was told a story yesterday, actually, about a driver that he started lease purchasing with a trucking company. And the company was in Chicago. It's actually a company with a good reputation. And I don't know what happened. I don't want to assume what, is in the driver's mind, but allegedly he's out on the road, which we could be talking about this also. He's out on the road and he has kids, and I guess he has custody of the kids. I don't know how that goes, but he had someone watching the children, and allegedly something happened when he was out on the road to where all of a sudden he cannot provide, supervision for these children at home while he's on the road. So he goes home, but he doesn't tell the company what's going on. He drives all the way down to South Texas. And he then tells them, hey, I got a problem going on with my kids. My mom is supposed to come and start watching them. I need a day. So this goes on literally for a week, actually 8 days. And finally, the company figures this is something doesn't sound right here.
Was he under a load?
I don't know. I don't think he was. I think he was empty. Because when I was talking to the company, all they wanted him to do was, I think they had a load for him to pick up to get moving. And don't get me wrong, this guy had a brand new truck they gave him. It was a 2022. He was making really good money. His checks were like $3,000-$4,000. And, everything was going well, but all of a sudden now he's hesitating on coming back out. And again, he may have been telling the truth about the kid thing.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Honestly, drivers become the sole provider for their family as far as just like they are the only parent.
And think about that for a second. And I've met many truck drivers that have kids and they are a single parent, but they're out on the road yet. And, to be honest with you, I almost think that that's probably no life I'm not trying to tell people how to live their life, but if you've got like a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old at home and you've got maybe grandma watching the kids, or you have a nanny or somebody you're providing for, and, your wife or your husband's not in the picture, I almost think that that's probably, that's got to be tough. I mean, I don't want to put someone down for trying to provide for their children like that, Ruth Ann, but at the same time, what are those kids getting out of, this? Because I get to have more things because we have more money, but I don't have any parent in my life. That's a bad scene for the kids.
It really is, because what happens is the daughters go looking for men to be the father figure, and boys have no father figure to show them how they are supposed to act.
And you remember that commercial where they had placed these elephants in an area in Africa, but they were young elephants and they had no parent at all. They were just young elephants, and they were destroying things. And then they brought in some male, fully adulted elephants, and the kids started acting correctly. They started being mindful and obedient versus, destroying things. Well, kids are the same way. If you don't have a dad in your life, it's tough. And again, I'm not putting anybody down that doesn't have a dad. I'm not putting any truck driver down that has to be on the road because that's his skill. I get that. But if you're the only parent, it's pretty tough to swing that, because most of the times something's going to happen to where you're out on the road and now guess what? Somebody can't make it to work to watch the kids, or, grandma, she's getting old. She can't really do that good of a job. Things start unfolding pretty bad in that situation. And now you're a trucker on the road. I'm going to tell you something. That is a recipe for disaster. And there may be some stories of, no, this worked for us very successfully. But the stories that I hear, most of the times it falls apart.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to have a large family structure as far as, your parent being young enough to maintain taking care of young children, running them to functions and school and doing that homework with them, all of that stuff. You have to have a good family structure if you're going to be out on the road. A lot of support from all of them to help you with your kids, because you can't depend. First of all, your parent raised you already. Right now, you're asking them to raise their grandchildren. We've experienced some of that, and it's not always easy to do when you're still trying to take care of your own family still. And then on top of it, you're getting older. I could tell you, when we have Scarlett for a few days, it can knock me on my butt sometimes.
And Scarlett's
our great niece. I mean, we basically claimed her as our granddaughter, but she's going to be only 3, and she can be a hellion.
So when I was out on the road, you were soccer mom, little league baseball mom, dance mom, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And all I'm saying is, if you have a nanny or you have somebody, I don't know, a friend watching your children and you're paying them and all that stuff, are they really able to have their life and then, be soccer mom, baseball mom, and really giving those kids what they need? Again, I don't want to step over any boundaries and tell somebody they have to live their life the way I think it. I'm not saying that in any way. I'm just saying that most of the times this situation falls apart, just like we just seen in South Texas this past week with a driver, and this company was telling me about. So what also happened was this driver started trying to take different cash advances. So he had like 4 cash advances, and he was wanting more. And I guess he had, was going back and forth with them saying, hey, I want to go ahead and start taking a load now. I've got arrangements for my kids now to be watched. And the company was like, wow, this dude has been home for 8 days and it's payday now. This was the next issue. So now it's payday, and because he was home, he had like only a load in or something like that was going to be on this paycheck.
And then he cash advanced it.
And he had all this cash advance, but he still had like $800 and some coming, right? It wasn't like a full week's pay, but as you can see, by being home 8 days and then with the what's it called? The costs of the truck payment and the insurances and everything, sitting at your house for 8 days doesn't stop. Okay, so now when you deduct all of that, and now you're sitting there going, are we gonna have to go pick up our truck? Is this guy playing a game? Because most trucking companies, again, they know that in times past, most of them have been burned by a driver lying to them and not really, he's just trying to get all the money he can out of them and then abandon the truck. And so they told him, listen, we have a load for you. Go pick that load up, and we are still willing to pay you your paycheck. Well, your settlement. It's not a paycheck when you're an owner-operator. We're willing to pay you this, even though your costs by sitting home for 8 days. And by the way, this guy had only just started working for this company. So it wasn't like, I think he was like 2 weeks into the company. So he still made like $3 or $4 grand a week for his first 2 weeks. And then he sits for 8 days. You cannot do that and then all of a sudden expect, any kind of a big paycheck. So he goes and they go and they tell him, if you pick this load up after 8 days of sitting there telling us that you got a problem, okay, we will go ahead and release your money to you as soon as we see that you're, you've picked the load up and you're on your way to your destination. We will go ahead and release this money to you. And then, of course, the driver is fighting with them saying, oh, that's BS, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's something that a lot of drivers don't take in consideration, Ruthann. I almost called you Roosh.
Roosh?
Roosh. That would be a cool name, Roosh. I don't even know a Roosh.
I have.
All right, I'm getting sidetracked. Listen. Something that a lot of people don't understand, and I've talked to owner-operators, lease purchase drivers, which is considered an owner-operator, and some of them will say to me, hey, man, if I'm paying for that truck, I should be able to pick it out. If I'm paying for that truck, I should be able to stay home and as long as I want to. If I'm paying for that truck, I should be able to pick where I want to go. They say that, right? What they don't realize is, okay, first off, it's a lease or a lease purchase truck. It's not in your name yet, even though the contract's in your name, number one. Number two, the trucking company, okay, are the ones that put up the money to get that truck in the first place, okay, in their possession for you to go and make a living as an owner-operator. Number two, when you don't run for a week, okay, you think, okay, that's on me, man. I'm the one paying for it. No, the company's still losing the money. They didn't go and invest money to get that truck for you for it to sit and then not have money coming in. The trucking company is going to do what the trucking company does. They're going to make money. And if you're willing to sit for a week, guess what? That's going to upset any trucking company for the simple reason, whatever your 80 or 90% or whatever you're getting, they're not getting their 20% or their 15% or their 10% because you're sitting. And I know like there's drivers out there right now going, so what? They're not the ones paying for it. But yes, they are. They're the ones that initially invested in this. They're the ones that got you the cheaper insurance by being in their driver pool. They're the ones that had the credit to begin with to get a Kenworth or a Peterbilt or a Freightliner truck. So therefore, you have to understand when you sit, you can't take the attitude that it's my truck, I'm the one paying for it. That's BS. Unless you go to a bank and buy your own truck, it isn't your truck. It's still the company's truck. I don't care. You can call it a lease purchase in your truck all you want. But the bottom line is it isn't yours till the title's in your name.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, but I mean, I'm just curious because the trucking company got the truck for them first. They're still responsible to make sure that truck payment is made, right? And the insurance is maintained on it, correct?
Yeah.
So if the driver don't pay it for 1, 2, 3 weeks or a month,
trucking company has to pay for it.
Exactly. So you're not paying for it. The trucking company's paying for it. You're just liable to reimburse the trucking payment back all what's on your contract.
Just imagine now. Think about. I mean this sincerely. I'm always on the driver's side, unless the driver is wrong. And in this case, the driver was wrong. Okay.
I think he was.
He should have told them the problem before he went home. He knew he had this problem before he went home. That's why he went home. Okay. So therefore, he BS'd the company.
He was being a sneaky snake.
He was being sneaky. And so it is what it is. But the bottom line is you have to always understand one thing, that the trucking company is not there to just hand you a truck and to where you think you're the guy paying on it, it's your truck. That's not the way it works. You just imagine if lease purchase companies said, "Oh, you have to have $5,000 down." Most of these guys would not be able to get in a truck because they don't have $5,000 or $2,000 or $10,000. If you're an owner operator going out into the world and you're going to buy a truck at a dealership, it's 10 to 20% out of your pocket from day one. And if you don't pay that, you don't get a truck.
So trucking companies are kind of like your cosigner.
They're more than your cosigner because they're putting up the entire truck for you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if you cosign for somebody, like we've cosigned for our children, to get them started on a car loan before. We didn't provide the car, the dealership did. But when you go to a trucking company and you get a lease purchase, guess what? The trucking company had to go through a lot of stuff and be something to be able to get that truck in order for you to walk in the door with no money out of your pocket, okay, and no responsibility but driving it. You're not paying for the fuel up front. It's just being deducted on what you made. You're not making the truck payment. It's just being deducted on what you made. That's all that is. You have zero responsibility except for delivering the load and being a good worker. That's really the responsibility of a lease purchase driver.
Fulfilling your contract.
Absolutely. I know a lot of guys right now that are lease purchase and they're doing well and they're good people. They're good drivers. They're on time. They run. In fact, to be honest with you, you know what a lease purchase should do? It should make you work harder. Like some guys think because I'm a lease purchase driver, I'm an owner operator, which means I'm going to get these big fat checks. In turn, you realize most guys that are successful at leasing, they realize, hey, guess what? I need to work harder to make more money. And they do. The good ones do. Okay. So anyway, going back to this guy, bottom line, they ended up flying in overnight and grabbing that truck. That's what they did. This is what they told me. They got on a plane. They flew a driver in at like midnight and they grabbed the truck and they went ahead and just took a load and just got the truck moving because they realized that, and I want to tell you something. There's some drivers out there going, F that company, blah, blah, blah. They gave him 8 days, Ruthann. Most trucking companies would not give you 8 days and listen to your excuses. I'm telling you this. Now, I'm a driver. I can say this. I'm telling you right now, this is not the way a driver should behave himself. It should be honesty. And if there's a problem that bad, you should be honorable and just say, hey, I'm going to tell the trucking company up front what's going on. And you probably really should quit your job at that point, only because you're screwing the company up and it's just unfolding into a bad situation. That's all I'm going to say.
I agree with you. How about we say about a sponsor?
Yes, move on. Let's talk about Carter Lumber. CarterLumber.com/Talk CDL. This is a company, drivers, Class A and Class B drivers, hear me up. The company is looking for local only, home every day. If you're over the road and you're really looking to get a little bit of rest and see your family more, Carter Lumber has over 160 locations east of the Mississippi. Odds are they have a terminal near you where you can come and work locally. That's carterlumber.com/talk CDL. Ruth Ann, we're also brought to you by National Carriers. National Carriers is looking for lease purchase drivers, and they got those beautiful blue Kenworth T680s. Call them today at 888-311-7076. Ruth Ann, moving on. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about something that came up in a conversation with your favorite, which would be Johnnie Acid. Okay, so check this out. It was amazing, and I'm going to play that for everybody here in a little bit. I'm going to play I actually called Johnny, and we were on recording, and he told me the story about how he was working, and Johnny obviously is a local driver now here in Florida, and he's working for this company, pretty good sized company actually. Okay, so anyways, Acid recently told me this story about how he came into work and he inspected his truck because Johnny mainly is what we call a slip seater. You know what a slip seater is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So Johnny shares a truck with somebody else, and his shift is, I think Johnny's is the first shift. So he's on first shift, and he's doing an inspection, and he notices like some damage, I think on the passenger side on the tank or something, right? And what he does was real quick, he calls the driver that was in the truck the previous night. And he says to him, hey, I'm inspecting the truck and there's all kind of damage on the one side. And what do you think the reaction of the other driver was?
Wasn't me.
Exactly. Wasn't me. No, but that's exactly what, I mean, from what Acid was telling me. So the driver now says, wasn't like that when I left it, right? Okay. So now somebody's lying, obviously. Mm-hmm. And someone's going to get fired now probably because instead of just fessing up and saying, hey, I made a little damage to the truck, all righty, they're, is it Acid lying or is it the other driver lying? But obviously they both know now someone's getting fired. And so what? Exactly. And you know what's funny? I would have thought that it was Acid because he sometimes can act like like he's on acid. So, but no, anyways, it turns out that the company obviously went back and looked at video footage. Exactly. So they start reviewing video footage and they could see where Acid, the last time Acid had the truck, he pulls in the yard and guess what? There's no damage.
That's a good sign.
Exactly. So then they go and they check out the other driver, and I guess, and I'll play it then for everybody here in a little bit. I guess it turns out the other driver is the one that damaged the truck. So it's like, you got to think about this. So now, instead of saying, okay, I was at a shipper and I scraped a pole or what, I don't know, whatever he did, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of saying that and probably just having something, okay, you got an accident on your record now, behave, you're on probation and, don't do it again. That's most companies are going to do. Like, they're not going to fire you for...
Unless he's had this happen before and he's already had his warnings. I don't know. That
is correct. But you know what? Acid didn't say that. And I think that Acid would have told me that, hey, this guy had, and unless he did say it, I don't remember saying that. So I don't know that this guy had other incidents. And you're right. If a guy has a bunch of incidents, he's going to be thinking, oh, I'm going to get fired. I better not, I'm going
to lie.
But I'm going to have to lie. So anyways, bottom line is he did lie. I think it was his only accident that he had. But because he's lying, guess what? Exactly. He got the axe, right? So
that was a bad accent.
Well, anyways, what I wanted to mention is this. Okay, when you're a driver and let's say you're dropping and hooking a lot you got a drop yard full of trailers, and it's late at night, and you're tired, and you're sent in there to pick up a trailer, and you don't do a good inspection on that trailer. Now, just imagine if this guy might have been counting on Acid to not really do an inspection. Maybe this guy thought Johnny would just get in it and go, you know what I mean? And next thing you know, when you're out on the road, you know, if Johnny wouldn't have done that inspection and he would have got down the road and then halfway through the day, he stopped for lunch and then he's walking out and noticed the damage and then called it in and go, hey, there's damage. Well, didn't you do an inspection this morning? Johnny would have had to say, well, no. Or what would you say then? Didn't you do your inspection? Right? Yeah. Well, what happened when you did your inspection this morning? Well, I didn't do my inspection. Well, now you're fired for that. Or, yeah, I did my inspection and it wasn't there. Now Acid has to start lying, or he's going to fess up and say, listen, I screwed up. I didn't do my inspection, but I did not do that damage. So now who do you believe? Now it's a lot easier to believe that it was Acid. So the good thing is that he did the inspection and that he caught the damage. And if you go into a drop yard and you don't do your inspection correctly, and the last guy that dropped it in there busted up that trailer and you didn't see it, I mean, I'm serious. Like, there could be overhead damage. There could be a hole in there. He could have hit a tree limb and put a tree limb through the damn top of the trailer. It happens a lot.
Yeah. A lot of stuff can happen, and, you know, you're then responsible for it.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point.
Because you lied, is what I was meaning. You're responsible because you didn't do what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, so guys, take this lesson from Acid. Inspect your vehicles, or you may be getting the blame for the last guy damaging your truck. You know, here's the other thing. You're at a truck stop. You come out. Wait a second, I just did my inspection. Well, you know what? When you come out from eating dinner, or you've been sitting, you went in there to take a shower and you've already done your pre-trip and you're thinking everything's good. Well, what about the guy that might have backed into your truck or scraped your trailer or did something stupid because you don't want to do a walk around because you just did an inspection an hour ago? Listen, every time you're away from your tractor and your trailer, you need to do a walk around. If you go in to take a leak at a rest area, you need to do a walk around. You need to do a walk around because there's a good chance that maybe the guy beside you scraped you and he might not have even known it. And there's paint on his trailer and blah, 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 blah. And you go to pull out, you don't know it. And guess what? Now you're getting blamed because all you had to do is walk around and go, wait a second, what's that red paint on my trailer for? Wait, there's a red truck beside me. Hey, buddy, look what you did. You need to inspect your vehicle whenever you're not near it. When you pick up a trailer in a drop yard, do a walk around. When you get out of your truck to walk in to take a leak, do a walk around. Whatever the case is, always protect your ass.
It doesn't take much time, but what it does is it protects you a lot. I mean, even what happens if you got, you know, a light that's out and you didn't realize it because, you know, something happened. You go down the road and you get pulled over by DOT, you just now got fined for a light that you didn't know was out because you just didn't do that inspection.
Plus, you're getting a level 1 inspection on the side of the road, and all because you could have prevented it by doing a quick walk around and going, wow, look at that, I got a bulb out. Like you just said, Ruth, that's a good point. You know, even lights out can, in the long run, not doing a walk around. And I'm not talking about your pre-trip and your post-trip. I'm talking about every time you're away from your truck, do a walk around. If you don't, like Ruth Ann just said, you could have a light out, and that could cost you a half a day on the side of a road. Okay. Everything could happen because you're not watching your truck. Guys, inspect your truck. That's really what I wanted to say. Okay. Before we move on, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this audio with Acid and you can hear the story from the horse's mouth.
Literally.
Acid. So, you know, we haven't talked to you in quite a long time. I wanted to talk to you about something you and I were talking about the other day. You were telling me about an incident. I just want to kind of set the stage. You're a local driver for a company here in Florida, and you recently almost got blamed for an accident that you had nothing to do with, and it was because you have to slip seed in your truck, which can be a danger if each person, individual, is not doing a really, really good pre-trip. So why don't you tell everybody, you know, in a serious Johnnie Acid, what actually happened the other day and how did they catch the culprit?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Well, first of all, I'm on the hook for it because I did let's just say it wasn't a complete pre-trip. You know, I kicked the tires, I checked the oil, I checked the brakes, I checked the lights, make sure they work. Well, I haul a pneumatic tank, you know, with the 3-pot, I pick up the cement powder and I deliver it. And there's a blowdown pipe that comes down from the back of the tank to let the pressure out with a handle on it. And it was bent back, so I didn't really notice it. But when I got to my first stop, that's when I noticed it. And I mean, sometimes you don't pick everything up on the pre-trip. It wasn't like in your face so that you'd notice it. But the two elbows on the top and the bottom were basically crushed flat, rendering the blowdown valve pretty much useless. So.
And you caught that on the pre-trip?
Yeah, and you know, there's 2 racks that you use. You have to go up and open the top up, and then you have to close the top. So a lot of times when there's damage like that, and this was a pulling forward type of damage because it was bent back. So it's not from backing up, it's from pulling forward. My first thought was, crap, I wonder if I ripped the rack off, because that happens. And, when I got back, I checked, and of course there was no damage to the racks. The trip there was on the highway. When I got there, there's absolutely nothing you can wreck into. So I know it was the other guy. So I called the other guy, sent him the picture, and what do you think he said?
Let me guess. Now, this is the guy that was also driving the truck that got damaged. So this is the guy that's on, what, first shift, second shift? He probably said something like, when you called him and you said, hey, I noticed a lot of damage to the truck. And his response was probably something like, wasn't like that when I had it.
That's exactly what he said.
Is that what he said?
He goes, that's exact word for word. He goes, wasn't like that when I had it. And I said, well, I really didn't hit anything, and there's 2 of us who drive it. So he goes, well, didn't you pre-trip the truck? And I go, yeah, but I didn't notice that, right?
So he actually said, didn't you pre-trip? So he's already got the way to try to make you look stupid on top of blaming you on it.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Okay. That's pretty much it. So he knew that if I missed it on the pre-trip that I was going to be on the hook for it, because like many trucking companies, once you take possession of the truck, if you're a company driver, if you do a pre-trip and you don't mark it down, then you're on the hook for it, right?
That's true.
Well, this thing actually turned out to have a good ending to it, because I immediately called it in, sent pictures to the boss, and the boss believed me and didn't believe him. Apparently the guy's shady. So he pulled video footage of me returning the truck with no damage to the yard, and then on the next shift that guy had, him returning the truck to the yard with the damage. So he lied.
Wow. It sounds like that guy had some ball. You know, I wonder, Acid, wouldn't it have been much easier for this guy to just have the little damage, report it to the company, and then, maybe get a little mark on him? He probably wouldn't have been I'm guessing on something like that, he probably wouldn't have been fired. Okay. But
yeah, the guy's got plenty of time off now. The sad thing is someone will probably hire him. But you're absolutely right. I mean, if you whack the truck, just admit to it. Because most of the time, especially if you're a good driver, and I think he is, but most of the time, have a little whack like that, and you call it in. They might slap you on the wrist, maybe, but they're not going to get rid of you.
Right. Well, and the worst part is now when he goes to get another job, he doesn't just have an accident under his belt. He now has a failure to report an accident under his belt, which of course a lot of trucking companies will really frown on that, because it's like, okay, now we're going to hire the guy. Is he going to be honest with us when he has a little ding? Probably not.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, when I was out on the road too, and you know this, and I think we talked about this already too, it's not just local guys, it's over the road guys. Like if you're dropping and hooking, right? You know where I'm going with this?
Absolutely. Go right ahead. I was going to actually bring that up, but you're talking about a drop yard.
I just want to bring it up so to remind you, but go ahead, talk about it.
Well, no, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's no different than when you pick up a trailer in a drop yard. If you don't truly pre-trip that trailer, and if the last clown damaged it and doesn't want to say, and I'll tell you what, that includes looking up along the top. You know, I'm not saying climb up. I'm just saying look up on the top. The guy could have caught something, an overhead, object, and have something crushed up there. You just don't know what he did. You want to go over that trailer, because if you don't and you don't catch it, and then you drop the trailer somewhere, the next guy's going to pre-trip it and he might blame you. So you really want to always, it's almost like when you go to Avis or something, you get a rental car. What's the first thing the guy does when he shows you the car you're picking up? He says, let's do a walk around. He wants to make sure you note any dings that you think are worth. It's the same thing. You really want to protect your butt. That's really the bottom line with it.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dropping and hooking, a lot of times you can run into trailers that have damage to the landing gear. That happens a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I'm glad it worked out for you, Acid. I'm glad the other guy got fired. And because like most people know, you're pretty much a clown, but at least you're pretty serious about your job.
Most of the time, yeah.
So, Acid, we haven't talked to you in quite a long time. You got off the road. Last time we talked to you, you were over the road. You were a lease purchase driver, out running 48 states. You liked it, but then your lovely wife needed you home, and now you're kind of henpecked. You're now home, and you're every day home.
I mean, not only am I working 70 hours a week, but I'm still the house bitch.
Right.
Scrubbing toilets, cooking, doing all that crap. So it's almost like sometimes I'd rather be over the road so I can just lay on my ass in my sleeper. You know what I mean? Maybe play some video games.
So you're saying over-the-road drivers are lazy?
Yeah, they're lazy, and generally as a rule, they're overweight, too.
Well,
would you want me to lie?
At least you're back home. What's that?
It's true. They know it.
Yeah.
I'm not pissing anyone off. Just go to the truck stop. You know what I mean? There's a lot of overweight people there, drivers and their women. Oh, wait, did I say women? I shouldn't say women. That's wrong.
Acid, there's a reason why you don't get on this show much anymore. The hate, your hate mail really, I'm going to get a lot of hate mail over this one.
I'm not a hater, Hey, I've got nothing. If someone has gender dysphoria and they're an adult, they can do what they want. We live in America. I'm not a hater. I just, I have a problem with, a kindergartner learning about masturbation. So I have a problem with that.
All right, Acid. Unless you got any other stories for me, I'm going to cut you loose.
I've got plenty, but none that are suitable for the air.
None that, come up with one that's suitable for the air.
All right. The other ones I'll get with you on offline.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'll try to check in with you tomorrow. I'm going to try to start checking in with you at least once or twice a week, and we'll put this in with the show. And
that's probably a good idea. And, I am going to get a dash cam video, too, so that we can upload some of the idiots out on the road down here in Florida, too.
I've been telling you to do that for a long time.
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for you to buy it, though.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm still waiting for my first paycheck, too. When's that coming?
I told you it's coming.
It's in the mail, right?
It should be. I'm going to let you go. All right, brother.
Okay. See ya.
Take
Bye.
care. Okay, and that was right from the horse's mouth, Johnny Acid, and we are moving on, Ruth Ann. And today's episode is brought to you by J.J. Keller,
the Chucker's secretary.
That's right, 888-601-2017. If you need someone to act as a secretary and keep all your paperwork in line, if you're a driver looking to get your own authority, your own DOT number, call Keller. 888-601-2017. They can help big time. And we are also brought to you by driving-tests.org. Ruth Ann, this is the company that guarantees you will pass your CDL. Mm-hmm. Okay, you will pass your CDL. It costs you $49 a month. You only probably need it for a month. And while you're in your trucking school, paying $5,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, a $50 investment to guarantee you that you were going to pass that. In fact, we know somebody recently that did not pass their test. Won't mention her name, but she did not pass part of her test, and now she's got to retake it. And the bottom line is, if she would have had driving-tests.org, she would have had the guarantee of passing.
Well, I think that it's a great company.
Awesome. Perfect. So moving on, Ruth Ann, do you have the word of the day today?
I do.
And what is the word?
Cavort.
Cavort?
Cavort.
Cavort.
Now, this is a word that anybody can use often. All right, you ready? It means to jump or dance around excitedly.
Wow, cavort.
Cavort. So
he's cavorting?
Your children are cavorting. Your dogs are cavorting. Your wife could be cavorting. I don't see truck drivers doing much cavorting, but you could.
So when you drivers get home from being on the road this time, and your wife's all happy, and your kids are all happy, and your dog, the dog gets, how the dog gets when you walk in. The dog dances better than anybody. I mean it. Like our dog, when we walk in the house, he's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna explode. but anyways, look at everybody and go, you guys are just cavorting today.
Yeah.
So
show them that you're smart.
Absolutely. And Ruth Ann, that's by
Word Genius.
Word Genius. This place makes us so smart. And you get a free word every day. And it's a free download. So check them out. They're not a sponsor of the show. We just love Word Genius. Ruth Ann, do you have the joke of the day?
I do.
What is it? What is the joke? Is it a funny one today?
I thought it was pretty cute.
Okay, let's hear it.
How does a squid go into battle?
Tell me.
He's well armed.
He's well armed?
Yeah, squid's got like lots of arms.
Oh, okay.
He's so stupid.
Okay. I am stupid. All right. Well, that's the joke of the day. And do we have anything else?
Well, I do have an interesting fact. It's not trucking related, but it's something that everybody's dealt with.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay, everybody likes the show MASH, right?
They like to what?
The show MASH.
Oh, MASH?
Yeah.
Like the 407 MASH with radar?
Yes,
Of course, we all love it.
Everybody's watched that. But do you know that it was actually based on a true story?
Actually, I think I seen the movie. I didn't know that it was based on I think I might have known it was based on a true story. I might have known. I can't remember if I knew that
Okay,
or not.
well, there it went.
Oh, go ahead. Let's hear it.
So it is based on a true story. The person that Hawkeye played, which is Alan Alda, that was the actual creator of it all. He served during wartime.
So Alan Alda actually served?
No, the person he portrayed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
So that person was an actual doctor, an actual surgeon in a unit, a MASH unit, in, I believe it was saying the Korean War or World War II. It was World War II. So he was in this the whole time. So he basically created MASH as his own experience. Alan Alda also is the only character that is in every single episode of MASH.
I didn't know that because I know they went through. I think it was before it was BJ. It was BJ was the one originally sharing the tent with Hawkeye. He got killed, and then Honeycutt came, right? Or no, BJ is Honeycutt. BJ Honeycutt. And then what was the guy's name that replaced him? He ended up sharing the tent with him. I actually forget.
I'm right now. I don't know. I watch so many episodes. I would have to
Yeah, and then
Frank was one of them.
Well, Frank Burns was, and he was always hanging with Margaret.
And then you had the English guy that was really cocky.
Yeah, that's
the snotty one.
He was the third replacement.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
And then you had two colonels.
Yeah, I was just going to say you had Colonel
Blake.
Colonel Blake, and then you had Potter. So, wow, I loved that show.
I did too.
Yeah,
I used to
really
love watching it. You can also, they did that show, like all the scenes in California, and the set is still there. Most of it's been burnt away, but you could still go and see some of their setups, like maybe the Jeeps and stuff like that. They're in California if you ever wanted to go and see it. It's a national park now.
That's awesome. I mean, I love MASH trivia. That is so cool. Thank you for that, for real. I mean, you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to do like everything else I do. When I haven't seen something in a long time, I'm going to go look it up on YouTube or Netflix or Amazon to see if they have the series now, just so I can watch. I would love to watch MASH from first episode all the way up to the last one.
Binging.
I'm going to binge.
It's a thing. We're going to binge MASH.
I used to watch MASH after school. Speed Racer, Bugs Bunny, and MASH. They were my shows when I was a little kid.
I liked MASH.
After school. Anyways, I think we're out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Praise the Lord.